No, thank you, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon. I'm really privileged to be here. Thank you, Anu and the Collab team, for giving an opportunity to come and speak. Went through the day yesterday. I was here for some time, and then today, some fascinating work getting done. I'm not we're not in a position. We are a very, very young startup, just 8 months old. So I don't have a lot to share in terms of learnings, but definitely what I can bring is our passion about women health and experience and what we're trying to do from a women health perspective in India. From a overall kind of message perspective, we are kind of prioritizing women health. That's the motto. That's what we work on. And we are a profit with purpose organization. While all of us want to make money, we are doing these startups to obviously generate wealth for ourselves. But there is a very, very personal story which I would want to share first before I get into what we are trying to solve and what we're trying to do, is what got me passionate about solving for women health, right? So want to give a background about the founders. So we are a couple founder. The only one thing we agreed in 15 years of our marriage is we want to start a women health company. So my background is I spent 20 plus years in the corporate world, got lucky, worked with some marquee brands, right from Anderson Consulting to Lehman Brothers, witnessed the big fall in 2008, so was an investment banker. Was in Barclays, again in investment banking. I was in Deloitte Strategy Consulting. And my last role was a big role, which I left at the peak of my career. I was running a $2 billion business for Accenture. I was a global CEO. So this is what I call Sanchit 2.0 for two reasons. One is big shift, being a finance and growth guy to doing women health. Very, very passionate about it. And this is my second life. Met an accident a few years back and was declared brought dead. Good karma, somehow survived. And took me 9 months to come back on my feet. I can still not use my left leg properly on left hand. And promise myself the day I can do something more meaningful, I'll do it. So that came in form of inspiration from my wife's journey. She is much more, I would say, inspiration and credible in terms of what she brings to the table. So Aditi, her name is Aditi, sorry she couldn't be here, but she's an ex-fashion designer, Sabyasachi Mukherjee. Everyone knows about him. She was the lead designer for 16 years. So I was the boring finance guy, and she was the pastry in our life. So Aditi is a two-time cancer conqueror, I call her, not survivor, right? First time she got cancer at a very young age of 25. No genetics, no kind of family history, no lifestyle issues. It just came out of the blue 6 months into our wedding. So just imagine a young couple, and then Lehman had happened that time, right? So professionally, we were already in stress, and then mentally. So it was a very, very interesting time for us, and this is, I'm talking about 2008, 2009, so 12 years back now. Still, we have Newmi, and you have a bunch of things happening in the market, right? But nobody knew about breast cancer as much as we speak about now, right? And obviously, it's the most common form of cancers, right? One in every 4 women, every 4 minutes, actually, a woman gets diagnosed of cancer in India, right? Breast cancer in India. So it was an overwhelming experience we ran through. So somehow, a kind of young guy and a husband, I got intrigued about why it happened, right? And because none of the doctors, and we went to the best hospitals, and I was in the US that time, so we went to Johns Hopkins, one of the best hospitals in the world. Nobody answered us. Why did it happen to her at the age of 25? Till date, we haven't got any answer, by the way, right? And that intrigued me. So I started kind of doing a lot of research study, but obviously was not in a position to do anything about it, like from a professional perspective. Then, and the doctors told us broadly that if she lives for next 5 years, she'll be fine. The cancer won't come back. Broadly, that was the narrative we were given from a breast cancer perspective. Year 10, we planned to start a family. Her cancer comes back with the birth of her son, and then COVID hits, right? And again, that was a very, very overwhelming experience. And then we were sitting, so her chemo sessions were going on, and I was sitting with her, and I said, why did it come back? Every single doctor said, if you live for 5 years, it won't come back, right? And I'm assuming there are a bunch of doctors here and people who know the space well. At least I did not. There was a direct correlation between her pregnancy and her cancer coming back, direct, because of estrogen, right? So, and I was just aghast. I'm sorry to say, I was literally got borderline abusive with my gynec. I was like, what the hell? Why didn't you tell us? Why didn't you tell us? It could have been prevented. This is not cough and cold, this is bloody cancer. Sorry to use that word, right? So I got so irked about it. We were just talking. We said, we have to do something about this as a couple. So once we got her treated, she came back into her kind of proper self. So she's still kind of on a hormonal therapy, which is a longer-term 10-year hormonal therapy. But we both of us quit our careers at the peak late last year to set up Newmi Care, right? So that's where the passion comes from. The reason I wanted to share is this is very, very personal. And we are here to kind of create a business, but the primary objective is more impact, right? So we are, by the way, and what I'll share is more on our learnings. We are bootstrapped. We have not raised capital. I could have, but I'll also talk about some of the nuances why we have not done so far, but now we are in a place to do that. So before I kind of get into what we are solving and how we are solving, I just want to have a simple question for the audience. What are the top 3 reasons for any health and wellness issue for men? Health and wellness issues, what are the top 3 factors or reasons? Any guesses? Anyone? Lifestyle? Genetic, number 2. That's lifestyle, right? Number 3 is incident, right? You meet an accident, something happens to you, injury, something. Women have the 4th lever or factor, hormones, right? And that creates the trouble, right? That's what we are trying to solve for. So today's women health life cycle, I'm just moving forward, is I don't have to teach this code, right? All of you kind of building this space, and you know the space pretty well, is each stage of your life is different, and hormone plays the spoil sport. I'm using that loosely, but that's one of the primary drivers which determines the stage of your health, where you are, and what interventions you need to do. So what we're trying to do here as Newmi Care, and I'll talk about who we exactly are. I've still not spoken what we do, right? But I want to first quickly kind of talk about what are we trying to solve for. We're trying to solve for the women health life cycle. And it is a very, very bold statement I know I'm making, right? Because this is a massive problem we are looking at. And some of the investors told me when I went early on, so I also got into that rut of, why don't I raise capital, right? Why don't I, quickly get some money? And I'm not to be egoistic here, but with my background, people were willing to put money on me, right? And but very quickly, everyone said, you're solving too big a problem. Now, the other way, the investors tell you the TAM has to be very, very big, otherwise we are not coming and investing you. And like, you guys are confusing me. What are you talking about? But anyways, so what we are looking at is the entire life cycle. And what are the issues of our ecosystem, right? So one is the journey is broken. And I'm happy that we have more women than men here. Your entire journey is broken. And this is we have some doctors here, is you solve for one problem, you solve for many. That's how women's body works, right? At least that's the learning we've had. And so there is kind of an absence of solving the end-to-end women health life cycle. That's our belief. Second, self-care, right? And especially when it comes to maternal care, it's always about the baby. The moment the baby is born, the entire focus shifts to pediatrics. Be it the mother herself, or the doctors, or the hospitals. Everyone talks about the baby. Now let's focus on it, right? And so kind of limited self-care. Third is incidental care, as I mentioned about. Majority of the issues, and we spoke about, and Karen spoke about, and Dr. Geeta in the morning spoke about, is preventive care, right? On proactive care. So now you have concepts, methods, diagnostic screenings, which are preventive in nature, right? And we as have an opportunity now to kind of scale that. So that's where the other problem we see is that we as a country, very culturally, we are an incidental care or reactive care country, I call, right? We're not still a proactive or preventive care country. That's the 4th problem statement, and then workplace care. This is again I personally experienced, so when in my last role in the corporate, I was running a team which is 45,000 colleagues, right? It was a big team I was running, had 35 to 40% women colleagues. Every second week, I used to have a business HR conversation. How do we retain women talent? Every second week, right? And the conversation about was, she's become a new mother, she's becoming, how do we kind of let her go or transition her back, or she's not able to manage the work-life balance. We unfortunate, again, as a country, women are supposed to still drive. We are a very fortunate lot, right? We're sitting in Mumbai. This is not even 0.001% of the country, right? We are talking about a broader landscape, even working population, still women are supposed to manage that, right? So that was the fourth problem statement we figured. So what we are trying to do is kind of look at these holistically and see how do we solve for it. So as I said, again, making a very, very bold statement, but we have started. We've got some good progress, good traction, so I'll share about that. And by the way, I don't have too many slides after that. I'm like literally 1 or 2 slides and I'm done, right? So who are we now and what are we trying to do? So we are a women health life cycle management company. Essentially, I spoke about puberty to menopause and preventive hair cancers, breast, cervical, and uterus. Those are the 3 cancers which are preventable and curable, right? And that's what we focus on, and our primary focus is preventive and proactive care, right? And through the right diagnostics and screenings to lifestyle management. As we spoke about, lifestyle management, incident is something you cannot take care of, right? That is event-based. But anything which is lifestyle, hormonal, is something in your control, and you can manage that, and you can prevent that or proactively address it, right? So that's what we do. In terms of how do we do it, right? So this is where I'll spend some time. And sorry, the consultant in me could not stop creating a framework. So we created 7 P's of women health: puberty, PCOS, pre-pregnancy, pregnancy, postpartum, perimenopause, and preventive cancers, right? So this is what we solve for across the value chain. And how do we solve for is, so we built, and that's where the tech plays, and that's where the FemTech of the tech comes, is we built a recommendation engine, a rule engine at the back, where we ask you certain simple questions or screenings. And based on that, so there are 2 parts of it, right? And I think something what I think Swati also spoke about. There's a clinical part and there is a non-clinical or lifestyle management part, right? So the clinical part obviously gets done through consultations with leading doctors and kind of diagnostics. So we have created a very large infrastructure. So currently we service 200 cities with screenings and diagnostics through our partner network. So the first part which you see is the consultation diagnostic is through our partner network. We have 400 plus experts, 500 plus doctors, OBGYNs all over India. Nirma is one of our partners, by the way, for preventive screening. We do a lot of, we have kind of worked with a lot of brands in India or outside India to bring those capabilities, like at-home fetal monitoring, for example, right, or remote pregnancy monitoring, right, for high-risk cases and stuff like that. So we have done a lot of collaborations. I don't want to take credit. There's already good work done. We just kind of package it in our single interface, right? So that's what the clinical part is through our partner network. And after that is where we've kind of built a lot of tech here, where through your age, your current health concerns or health goals, our engine kind of recommends you a plan. And that plan is what we call as kind of a holistic wellness, mind, body, soul. So essentially your mental wellness, your physical fitness, which has multiple things. I won't go into details, and nutrition, diet, then even financial wellness, right? So some of the stuff what we do, some of these treatments are expensive, right? And you need the right support from a financial inclusion perspective. So we have a very strong insurance network already in a short span, where we help through the insurance network, or we help through even personalized loans, right? So we have NBFCs as a partner where you can take loans to do some of these treatments on credit and stuff like that, right? So that's kind of your wellness. Obviously, enough spoken about community and content. I think all this can be only done unless you don't educate, right? So it's all about education. So we very, very heavily focus, and that's one of the key learnings as well, right? That we need to educate more and more to each of our customers. In fact, just to share, there's this highly educated couple, and the lady came to us. So given we do some element of cancer care, 26 years of age, got breast cancer, newly married. Again, very similar story, and it was just, I got so emotional about it because I was literally reliving it, right? And she said, what do I do now? My life is short. She went suicidal, by the way. And she said, because I'm losing one breast. And the husband was not supportive, right? And because he said, I don't want to say the words, and I was aghast. I literally said, bloody, I'll shoot you, the way you're speaking, right? But the point I'm trying to make, that it was purely lack of education. And the husband did not even, and he's like typical good pedigree, IIT, IIM, very solid guy, professionally very solid. But when it came to her wife's health, he just did not know how to react. Let me be very blunt about it, right? And that's where we're spending a lot of time doing education and awareness about all of these concepts, right? And then we have also, what we have done is, which is interesting, is we have also created India's largest now marketplace around women health and wellness products. So while there is a health and medical side of the story, there's clinical, there's diagnosis, there's wellness, then we saw eventually you have PCOS, for example, right? I'm just making it up. Now you get the entire treatment done, but you need to maintain your lifestyle, and there are enough products in the market now which can help you supplement that, right? That lifestyle, be it nutraceuticals, be it any kind of other products which help you screen yourself or kind of do a monitoring for yourself, right? So that's where we have created a kind of a pretty solid marketplace. So we currently host 16,000 products and services, a network of 400 plus brand partners. We cover the entire country. We've already serviced 10,000 plus customers in a very short span in just 8 months. And I think that has kind of been an overwhelming experience, because in a very short span, we saw that there is a need, right? There is a clear need. That's the reason people are coming and buying, right? So I think that's what we take broader to the market. Then the last thing is, as I said, we are a profit with purpose organization. So this is our +1 initiative. I do want to talk about it. I'm personally very passionate about this, is we have a partner with whom we do kind of population screening for governments, right? So we have done around 15 of these already in Bihar, in Chhattisgarh, in Jharkhand, in Odisha, where we are screening the entire tehsils, they call it, right, at a district level or talukas for prenatal, postnatal, and women population, right? And I don't want to bore it, but these are all IoT-based screenings, all digital. This is where we don't make much money. I'm being very transparent, but this is, as I said, a +1 initiative. Very passionate about this. I personally go to a lot of these camps, and this is where we are also starting HPV testing and some of the other stuff around women-specific health and wellness. So this is where I think so far we have done around 200,000 screenings of women all over India, and we work with 8 state governments now at a district level, not at a state level. So that's what we do. It's called Mahila Arogya Program. Then couple of learnings, right? And as I said, it's a short presentation. I'm happy to have a more conversation. So I think, and it goes without saying, it's all about trust, right? All of us who are building in FemTech, I think it is about building that trust, because you're talking about someone's health, right? So I think that's where we are working very hard, and that's where I think all of us collectively have to kind of work. Second, I spoke about the education and creating awareness, I think, and I'm a very strong believer of that. We as a country, we are far behind. Even talking about the Western countries, there is still limited education, right? But there is a percentage of population understands it. And this is where we'll create the market as well, right? Because I personally believe the more people you educate, irrespective of who's solving for it, there is an opportunity for everyone to play, right? And I think Swati spoke about it. I love that, right? It's all about collaboration. It's not we are competitive, right? Today there is Ola and Uber and Blue Smart, and then all taxis exist because there was a market created by Uber, right? And I am a very strong believer that we have to create this as to a $100 billion market or whatever globally, and all of us have a role to play. And the third is preventive care. Again, a very strong believer through my last 8-9 months here in this space is we have to service the demand and supply gap. We as a country, way more demand than supply. And the only way we can do is proactive and preventive care. That's my philosophical statement I'm making, but I think that's have been a big learning, that it has to be preventive and proactive in nature, whatever you're solving for, because eventually that's where you bridge that gap. Otherwise, we'll be in that rut of more and more patients coming through, and we're just treating for them. So if you see, most of the solutions, barring few, are still more on the incidental care, right? Once the incident has happened, then you're curing for it, versus can we prevent it or can we proactively address it, right? And I think the last thing Anu asked me to cover quickly was for my kind of wish list for a stronger FemTech industry, right? As I said, create the market. We have to create the market together, all of the folks here. I think it's a large opportunity. Nobody can solve on their own, neither us or anyone else, right? Everyone can try. So I think the more education and awareness we do, the more bigger opportunity for each one of us. Quality care at right price. This is very close to my heart. We are a bootstrap business, as I mentioned, and the reason we are able to do this is no deep discounting. And I think my introduction was done, I used to invest actively in startups, so I still sit on board of 5 startups as an advisor. and I interact with a lot of startup founders in healthcare. Some of them you know, some of them are about to become a unicorn, at least notionally, and everyone who has done deep discounting in healthcare has gone down the drain. Every single company. Like I don't want to name, and there are now, and everyone, when I think in the morning session we had about the funding is, we were talking about that your revenue will follow money, right? But that's true to an extent, and I typically tell that if you come to my office and in my room there's a whiteboard and there's only one formula written. Profit is equal to revenue minus cost. Increase sales, reduce cost, fixed cost, right? That's what I strongly believe. And I think we as startup founders have to be very cognizant. And again, I give this example to everyone. Today, when it's about your health, you have 100 rupees in your pocket, and you have an opportunity to visit or consult someone where you have to spend 110 rupees. You will borrow those 10 rupees and go. You will not look for a discount that, can I get this service at 60 rupees? That's what healthcare is about, right? It's about quality care. And I'm not saying we have to be price it significantly higher, but at the right price, and the price discovery will happen over time. It is not a day one affair, right? And the third is collaborate and collaborate. I'm a very strong believer personally, and that's what the reason we've been able to achieve what we have achieved in a very short span, in just 8 months, servicing kind of 10,000 plus users, is through collaboration. And the power of network. I think Karen also spoke about, I thrive on that, right? That's what my entire career has been. That's what we are doing in Newmi, is that we collaborate and more collaborate, right? So yeah, so that's my time, guys. Thoughts, comments, questions? If not, then I'm okay. Okay.
Thank you so much, Mr.
Thank you.
Sanjit. Do we have any questions here? Anyone? Yes, can we please pass the mic there?
Hi, Sanchit.
Hi.
Very interesting presentation, and I think this is a need of the hour. Just at one thing that, since you're straddling across different life stages of women, and there would be different genres of women, right?
Yeah.
From archetypes to thinking to the way they kind of interact. How do you look at this, garnering your communities within this whole spectrum of the women that you're catering to?
Yeah.
And therefore, that brings down to the next question, that what is the model on scaling this up? Would you be just going, again, all across women, or would it be like, at some point, specifically looking at a specific type of women, or
Sure.
How does that work? And what challenges do you see ahead?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think pretty relevant question. So the way we have divided is into 3 buckets, right, at our end, from a community perspective and then scaling perspective. I'll come to that. Is kind of there is a big milestone for people for women who want to choose to be mothers, right? There is a big milestone in women's life around pregnancy, right? So there is a pre-pregnancy phase, which is your all hormonal imbalances or lifestyle diseases leading to fertility. And then there is the pregnancy period, including the postpartum recovery. And then there is a gap, right? Which is you are 30, 35, whatever age, second child or first child or second child, and then till you hit menopause or you become perimenopausal and after that, right? So we have divided broadly into those 3 buckets, broad buckets. Kind of obviously agree it is too much to kind of chew. That's one way we look at least internally, from a community perspective and kind of education perspective, because there are stages, a 25-year-old won't be interested to talk about menopause, right? So definitely not, but definitely cancer, because cancer earlier, 35, 40, 45 used to be a very, like 45 plus used to be a common age, right? Maybe 50 plus. Now it's happening at 24, 23, right? In fact, we had a customer of ours, 23-year-old girl, still studying in college, had breast cancer, right? So obviously, depends on what you're trying to solve. That's number one. Second, from a scalability perspective, if I understood your question, so we are currently not very direct to retail, direct to customer. So we are opting a very, very different model, and that's the reason we scaled very significantly and we did not raise a lot of capital, is we went through the insurance network. So today, and that was my strength, so I'm just playing on my strength. So I've been advising a lot of large insurance companies globally. So what we did was, and I'm sharing my trade secret, is we went, so see, after COVID, everyone realized the importance of insurance, be it life or health. And India as a country, the penetration has been very less, and it's male dominated. Whatever insurance somebody buys today also, it's family cover, male is a primary member of the family, right? But interestingly, after there was loss of life for women as well in COVID, and there was health issues, obviously, women also got treated, some led to complications, expensive treatments. So while there is a cover from your corporate or whatever employer, but there is now reasonable visibility, education again, what the insurers have started doing about women health products, right? So there are companies, I cannot, it's a confidential thing, we just signed up a contract to serve 1 million users, policyholders of an insurance company. That's massive scale you're talking about, right? And that's where I'm in a phase where we have to now raise capital because we have to support this. But what I'm talking about is the insurance themselves see this as a play similar to the US now. And most of the insurance companies have started building products, and that's where we are bundling. And that's where also I'm using the same example of education and awareness, right? Because that's you trust 2 or 3 people you trust, right? You trust your doctor, you trust your employer, and you trust insurer to an extent. If they are providing something, they would have done their research, right? So I think that's how we are scaling, at least at this point of time.
Very well answered, because when you look at the first piece, you're talking to different women. So we are communication experts. We always say, who's your target audience?
Yeah.
So if it's all over the place, you really can't reach them. But the fact that you're going through a very scalable business model,
Yep.
it makes a lot of sense. And I think it's the right nail that you've hit, because getting women insured itself can be a big thing to start
Yep.
with.
Yep.
Great.
Hi, Sanchit, I have a question. It's great that you're doing the entire life cycle. It's also very brave because, now, since you've not raised capital so far, maybe this question will come to you very soon.
No, we have spoken to everyone. You name a Sequoia or a Lightspeed or a Bloom, so because of my background, right? And just to share, we have spoken to every single, I've spoken to 100 plus investors in PE firms and VCs in India now.
Right.
And so, this question always comes, why don't you go narrow, deep, do solve for one, and go broad,
Yeah, so I'd really like to know what your answer is also, because there are specific startups or companies that are focusing, say, on menopause or on PCOS. So how do you stand up against them? Second question is, where do you see most traction? Third question is that since you're looking at even menstrual health, which is a population which is probably not covered under insurance, so how does the insurance company react to that?
Sure. So there are multiple questions. I'll go one by one. So in terms of kind of the spectrum, right? The primary reason was very, very simple, and obviously the time will tell us, right? As you rightly said, it's a very, very bold move we have taken. But the idea was, as I said, the entire journey is broken, right? And wherever you come as part of your journey, like all of you will be in different stages of your journey. Every single woman here in this room will be at a different stage, right? So what we are trying to do is using tech a bit to kind of start your journey from there and then kind of solve for it for your next whatever life cycle left, right? So I think that's the mindset, or that's the philosophy. That's number one. Number two, in terms of competition, and as I said, it's not that because I'm standing on a stage and I'm saying this. I'm a very strong believer, more the competition, better it is for the country, better for us, all of us, because you're creating a market. See, so I very strongly believe in the Uber model, right? Till then, you had only those black and yellow cabs or any kind of sorts of cabs. Uber came and changed the narrative of the market, right? Same for these Amazons of the world. So they created a market, right? E-commerce was created by Amazon. Let's accept it. Now, obviously, we are talking about 20 years from now what Amazon created, but at least for me personally, my aspiration, my vision is that we create a large market. And more the players, the better it is, because more sensitization of these issues. We've been talking about menopause as a taboo topic, right? Now, more and more companies do work either individually or in a more organized manner. It's good for the country, right? And it's good for everyone, right? Now you can be myopic in near term. I lose 5 customers to maybe someone or the other, but eventually, I think it's a win-win for, at least that's my personal viewpoint. And sorry, I forgot the third question. What is the third question?
No, the third one was that for insurance companies.
Yeah. So see, they are brutal. So the insurance is it doesn't. They are just trying to attract a customer. Let me put it very bluntly. For them, it's a way to market their product. So for them, today, you solve for one or you solve for many, doesn't matter. Till the time they are showing some value, they are able to underwrite the premium, they are able to look at the risk profile, they are happy, right? So that's the reason we are able to scale that quickly, as I said, because for them it didn't matter who we are. It's just that, oh, you have a fantastic product, let's bundle it, let's sell it, right? So again, and same thing is happening to a lot of these, what I would call health and wellness companies. You would have seen a lot of them mushrooming, right? The bunch of them now. And most of them are playing on that only, that there is a market, everyone needs to be served. Can we give some value add and kind of attract the customer, right? So that's a clear, simple model. Yeah. Okay, sorry, yeah. Okay, sorry, I don't know. I'm not.
Yes, we can take that as the last question here.
Okay.
Final last.
Sure.
More power to Aditya and you. I think you guys are doing a fantastic job. Obviously, it's coming from a place of deep concern for women. So really, more power to you. I have one question which we've actually sort of debated within, right? Are we a brand that ensures health outcomes, which means that we have control over service?
Yep.
So every doctor, every nutritionist who's speaking to our customers are working around a protocol.
Yep.
We assure health outcomes. Newmi is doing a fantastic job, like you said, in the spectrum, right? But you're working with external doctors. You have products which are some other brand products. So are you an aggregator or you're a brand that's saying, and these are also questions that I have been asked in the last 10 years.
Fair.
But I really want to understand because I think there's merit in doing both.
Yeah.
But can you do both together? Or are you doing one of those two? I think that's
So
the
we are doing a
question.
hybrid for now. And again, given we are new, we are testing the market. Let me be very, again, honest and brutal. So we have in-house residents, experts. It's not that we don't. We have an in-house team. It's a decent team, 20 plus folks of experts. We have doctors on board. In fact, Max Nanavati, HOD Gynec, she's on our board, right? And Karen spoke about. So we have some senior folks guiding us. And then we have full-time resident doctors as well, OBGYNs and mental health experts. So we have all of that, right? But obviously that cannot service that scale. See, so, and I'll be very transparent. We did not expect that we'll scale so fast. I'm being very blunt. Like 10,000 users in a short span of 8 months, I think we're doing something right somewhere, right? So to support that growth, we had to go external. There was no other option we had because tomorrow there's a corporate which coming and say, hey, I'm doing it for 500 users. How do you serve 500 users? You cannot hire that fast. You cannot raise capital that fast, right? So that's the reason. We're going in a hybrid model for now. But I 100% agree with you. For us, the health outcomes and the quality is paramount because that's where the stickiness, trust, repeat, retention, everyone speaks about will come, right? LTV, all those things will only come if you're not serving a quality product, right? So if you saw a slide, I said quality at the optimum price. So we are very, very clear about that, same, 100% aligned. But this is more short term. I think eventually for us, longer term would be, in my view, because then to your point, you cannot control. If it's an external party, beyond a point, you cannot control the quality. You're absolutely spot on. So I think that's my learning as well. So we will eventually do in-house everything. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Sanchit. A huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen.